Fantasy Football Fools? We are back again with the Week 4 recap. 4 weeks into the season, man, things are definitely starting to take shape now, and teams are either running away or falling behind. I feel like I'm kind of right in the middle. How do you feel where you're at right now coming out of the Week 4?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the teams are 2-2. If you're 2-2, you're looking okay. 1-3, you're grasping for air a little bit. I think we only have one 0-4, which is James, and he officially changed his name to Bye Week. So he's struggling. Hopefully he can bounce back. 4 losses. I always think like 6 or 7 is probably max to take L's before your playoff chances are done. And we have 2 4-0 teams, which are Johnny and Nick, and they are feeling really good about themselves right now.
Yeah, if you're 4-0 right now, you're feeling great, unstoppable. 0-4, you got to be feeling pretty defeated. I mean, you're not quite out yet, James, but I mean, you can kind of see where it's trending. I know he's been making some moves though, so hopefully we can see him bounce back and maybe pull off a crazy surprise at the end of the season. But with that, we can go ahead and get into our first matchup of Week 4 to go over, and that is you and Dom. You take a pretty tough L here, and I heard from numerous sources that you may have made a quick quarterback change at the last minute. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, Goff was just gonna be struggling, I thought, with all his receivers and running backs gone. I had Goff in all week. Then St. Brown got hurt. And then DJ Chark was out, so he had 2 wide receivers. I think that was Sunday morning. Maybe St. Brown was the day before. I'm not too sure, but
I think St. Brown was like Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, maybe. And then Swift was out, and then Chark was out. Sunday was Chark. So I was like, man, this guy's gonna be throwing to nobody. So I was like, I'll give Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is good for like I told Lubasi this, like 15 to 20 points, which is what he got me. So I can't be too mad at Rodgers' performance, even though he didn't look that great. But Goff on the bench just went off in a shootout. And yeah, I mean, that happens. I think the weather really fucked up my wide receivers. I had Diggs, who was playing in Baltimore, that the weather was bad there. And then Philly's weather with Hurricane Ian there, or the rain was from that storm was there. So Christian Kirk didn't get too much. But I get a little bit more from my wide receivers. My 1 and 2 wide receivers, I think I pulled this out, but Dom played great. Mike Evans really stole the show Sunday night. The only really person that didn't do that well is Kittle, who he traded for. I think this was his first week with Kittle. And I think his tight ends again, I think he's got about 6 points maybe total right now from his tight ends through Week 4. So he's still searching for that tight end.
If you are a tight end in the NFL, the last place you want to find yourself is on Dom's fantasy football team, let me tell you.
Yeah, and it's tough. But this happens, these losses happen in fantasy football, but I'm hoping I'm not looking at this loss in Week 10 and being like, if I got this, I would have been in the playoffs. So hopefully my team can bounce back. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I don't think looking at this from a top-down view, neither of you can be mad about this performance. I mean, you both put up great scores, losing with a 114. That's tough. That might be a little karma because of what you did to me. I don't know. But both of you guys had really good weeks here. Dom's team just barely edged you out. Big day from Derrick Henry, finally. Kyler had a great day. Mike Evans, like you said. So, yeah, great performance by both your teams. It's too bad you made that last-minute coaching decision to bench Jared Goff, but you'll learn from it. And 2-2 ain't so bad because I'm right there with you, and we still got a lot of hope, I think, at 2-2.
Oh, yeah. And I did learn my quarterback lesson because I made a trade for a quarterback, so I won't be switching that. And speaking of the quarterback I traded for, it's Justin Herbert with Chewy's team. So this was the battle of the Beatons. James, who is now officially bye week as his name, and Chewy, both of them were hunting down this win. Not great weeks from both of them, but not too bad. What did you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, good matchup. Like you said, not in amazing scores, but both, modest scores here. James takes another tough L, and really only by 8 points. So, I mean, it was close, and Chewy had Javonte Williams go down early. He's now done for the season, which is a pretty tough loss. We'll see how Chewy looks to fill that hole, but that's going to be tough. I think Cordero Patterson also just got put on the IR. or is at least out for this week. So Chewy's going to have some more holes to fill. I know he made a trade with you, so we'll see how his team looks next week after the trade and some of these injuries and see how he plugs those in. But I'm sure he's happy to get his first win of the season. Austin Eckler finally had a week worthy of where he was drafted at. He was going nuts. But, yeah, good win by Chewy. Tough loss by James. I mean, his team's not terrible, but they just don't seem to perform very well. Those wide receivers look pretty rough, and Matt Stafford just hasn't looked like Matt Stafford this year. He really is a bye week. I mean, at this point, depending on how his next few moves, he might be a bye week.
He got a really good 1-2 punch. I think Chubb is the number one running back. Maybe Saquon is.
He is.
Yeah, no, Chubb's the number one running back. Dameon Pierce the last 2 weeks have been doing really well. So that's a really good get for him. So, I mean, he's probably the best 1-2 punch, maybe next to Chris with Christian McCaffrey and Saquon. So, it's still a scary matchup. Jamar Chase hasn't done great in that third draft pick spot that James got him. I was always weary of Jamar Chase this year. I said that in my pre-draft rankings, and I've said that to the group chat a lot, that I'm just not high on that individual. But I think James will get a win. I don't know who he plays this week, but hopefully he can get a win because he needs some confidence. He needs some confidence.
He definitely needs to get a win soon, because 0-5 and 0-6 look like season might be getting close to over.
Yeah, and you don't want to be in that position already week 5 and just be like, well, my fantasy week's done. That would be so bad. Oh my God, I would hate that. But anyway, we go to the battle of the unbeatens. Johnny and Rudy were both 3-0 coming into this matchup. And man, the highs of Rudy's team were just so high the last 3 weeks, and they came crashing down pretty big, especially now that Jonathan Taylor won't play tomorrow. The Thursday game, he's officially out. How do you like Rudy's team after week 4?
The bigger they are, the harder they fall, man. This dude was on an absolute tear. We were just saying last week that he's basically got the league on notice until he doesn't. Well, now he doesn't, because this team looks bad now. I mean, he's got Greg Dortch in there as wide receiver 2, putting up a 1.1. I mean, like you said, Jonathan Taylor's out this week. And honestly, I don't know that matters much, because Jonathan Taylor has not put up numbers this year anyway. But we've been talking all season about how Rudy's team is the opposite of deep. And to start losing guys now, like he's going to be backpedaling, I think. Michael Thomas is down there on IR. I think he might be playing this week, though. I think last I saw he was questionable. But nonetheless, this is getting scary. I mean, Travis Kelce went off. Mark Andrews did not. I think for his team to definitely be successful, he needs both of those tight ends to have great days. But, I mean, when you got what you just got out of your running backs and wide receivers out of this game, I mean, you're not going to win. You're not going to win too many games there. 83 is just not going to do it. And congrats to Johnny for coming out undefeated. He had a pretty good week. Not a stellar week, pretty good week. But when you're going up against an 83, hard to lose.
Yeah, and especially with Rudy's team. Michael Thomas didn't practice today, I don't think, and yesterday, but I think they're projecting him and Jameson to play. But even with, I mean, you got Waddle, who's your best wide receiver, who just lost Tua probably for at least a couple weeks. I don't see Tua coming back to the field for a while after what happened to him. And then Jonathan Taylor hasn't done much, but at least he's a lineup lock for running back position. But now you got to fill – now your running backs look like J.D. McKissick and James Cook or Kenneth Walker or Darrell Hunt. Like, that is just bad. I don't know who's got Rudy this week, but this is probably the best week to play him this week coming up, because without Waddle and his QB1 and then without Jonathan Taylor, his lineup's going to be looking weak. But going to Johnny, 4-0 team – I mean, good. Debo did actually well. I think this is his first big game. He's had pretty consistent game, but this was his first true big game. He looked pretty good. Marquise Brown, I think, I really like that pick whenever Johnny picked him. I said that in the pre-draft rankings. without DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler's got to throw it to somebody, and he is loving Marquise Brown right now. So this was a great pick. He's going to be a lineup lock till at least week 6. And who knows, even with DeAndre Hopkins coming back, Marquise Brown could still just be lights out. He's done very well this year. So, yeah, Johnny doesn't have really good scores from Dalvin Cook this year. I was reading something online during work today that just how bad, not even how bad Dalvin Cook has been, but he hasn't been his old self. So if he gets going, this team is a lot more scary.
I feel like the Vikings just haven't been as good as their roster should be, or haven't looked as good as you would expect with the guys that they have. Like, that offense just hasn't been super explosive. We were talking about Justin Jefferson last week. Like, I don't know, that Vikings offense, I feel like they should be so much better, and they're just not. And Dalvin Cook, yeah, like you said, it just hasn't had much success this year. And that leads me to my point. Like, even at 4-0, this team is not that scary. He's putting up low hundreds. I think he beat me week 1 with like a 105 or a 106. I mean, I'm happy for Johnny. That's 4-0, great start, but I'm not that scared of this team. What do you think? Are you nervous about this team having to play this guy?
Maybe if you put David Montgomery back in that lineup, but yeah, his team, I think we can look at the standings at the end to see where he is with points, but it's not that scary. The wide receivers are probably the scariest part about this. Patrick Mahomes is underrated just because quarterbacks, you kind of just expect Patrick Mahomes to, put your his 20 up there each week.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like this is a more consistent team. I don't think he's going to have a bad week, but he's going to put up those hundreds week in and week out. And you're going to have to have a good above average week to beat Johnny, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I lost him. I think I put up like 98 that first week, and he beat me. So, but yeah, I don't know. I looked at that team at 4-0, and I'm just good team for sure. And like I said, congrats to Johnny for being undefeated through 4. But I don't know. I'm just not that scared of it. I think I do play him twice this year. I hope I do.
Yeah, Johnny is in your division, so you might. But going on to your matchup with Lubasi, this was probably the tightest matchup we had this week. I was gonna say for the season, but I remember me and Chris's game last week was probably nobody's gonna beat that. But this was a nail biter for both of you. I know it came down to Monday night. Matt Gay, who just couldn't get any more field goals after the first half. I think he got all his 9 points in the first half.
I think so.
I didn't watch that Monday night game. So I just know that I think Rams had all their points in the first half. So, but Lubasi's team, I play him this week, and man, without that 36 ball,
I was just looking at that.
This team is struggling, man. You give Hawkinson like a good week at like 15. This guy, throws out an 86, and it's a whole lot different. So, I mean, this team is not where it should be. Najee has probably been the biggest disappointment in all of the first round. Kamara, the second round pick. So yeah, he's probably the biggest bust so far in the first round.
I don't know, maybe Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, maybe, but Najee gets the carries. It's just he only gets like 2 yards per game, and the Steelers offense is just so hard to watch. It's just, I don't know. And then Gabe Davis can't catch the ball, so that's not really good for a wide receiver. So I don't know. This team just doesn't scream out. I mean, he's 2-2, but the team just doesn't scream like it's going to go too far. But maybe he can bounce back. Maybe you can talk about your team, and if you want to talk some shit, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, without that 35 from TJ Hawk, like, this isn't even close. And I was getting really uneasy when TJ Hawk started to go absolutely nutty in that game. Like, it it was just fucking fireworks, score after score. Like they just couldn't stop scoring. But yeah, for my team, I feel pretty good about this week because this is, like I told you guys earlier, I think this is probably going to be, I mean, you hope this is going to be Lamar Jackson's worst game of the season with a 13. He's been putting up 40s and 20s all season, drops a 13. You got to think that's the worst score. If I can still put up a 108 with that, coming out of here pretty happy. Plus Tony Pollard, I don't know what exactly was going on with that game. I didn't watch too much of it, but Tony Pollard obviously didn't get many touches, puts up a 1.3. That's not what you want out of your RB1 spot. But T. Higgins got me a solid 21 on Thursday, and Rashad Penny just went stupid also against those Lions. Him and TJ Hawk were going tit for tat. But, yeah, I'm happy to come out of this with a win because, like I said, I think this will be Lamar Jackson's worst game of the season, and I feel pretty good. Chris Godwin came back this week. I got Swift injured. I still came out with a dub. Lubasi stinks. Go Toads.
Yeah, and Rashad Penny had all his points in like the last 3 drives of that game. Like that game was so high scoring.
He had like 2 40-plus yard runs or something. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, we'll go to the next game. Nick and Chris, another undefeated team. Then Chris still with Justin Fields on top of his depth chart.
I told him last week. I told him on the pod.
So I'll let you kind of go to this game, and you can kind of break this down.
Yeah, another solid week from Nick here. Triple digits again, 115, pretty solid score. Oh, I see you. All right, it's just me. Josh Allen with another solid week. I mean, I think he's probably going to stay fairly consistent throughout the season, dropping those 20 balls. Clyde Edwards having a great season. I can't click on his name, but he's definitely dropped a solid double-digit score, I think, just about every week. Damian Harris has proved to be pretty decent. I think with the quarterback injury for the Patriots, they're probably going to be leaning on the run a little bit more. I think Ramondre Stevenson got quite a few more points this week than usual, too. A.J. Brown's been a solid pick. Allen Lazard is the only guy that Aaron Rodgers has to throw to. So, yeah, this team looks pretty solid. The flex could be a little better, but I think Josh Palmer just kind of had a down week, and I'm pretty sure – I can't scroll because that's on Jacob's end, but pretty sure he's got some pieces on his bench that he can fill in for that flex. So, yeah, I mean, of all the teams we've looked at so far, I think Nick's probably got one of the scarier teams, consistently dropping big numbers every week, and we'll look when we get to the points for section to see that. But yeah, this is a team I'm a little bit nervous to play. And then going over here to Chris's side of the board, starts Justin Fields again. I warned against that last week. I mean, you literally have seen nothing but shit out of this guy for 3 weeks, and you give him another chance. I mean, he's again. Big Justin Fields guy, huge Justin Fields fan. All right, I love him more than any other guys, but not in fantasy. You can't start the guy in fantasy. And Chris, I hope he's riding pine this week because man, you've taken too many losses having this guy weighing you down. But the running back stack, going to the positive side of Chris's team, the running back stack finally hits. Tyreek Hill went off. The bottom of his lineup looks terrible, pitiful, but those 3 guys right there, big positives. You love to see that running back stack going off. If he can figure it out here with the receivers and the flex and the tight end, Kyle Pitts has just been an absolute bust. But Chris has got some potential here. There's some positives to take away from this. You got to change the QB.
I mean, the QB change would be Carson Wentz as of right now. I think he does have Carson Wentz as his starter right now, but man, that's not really that really.
Chris, Trevor Lawrence is on my bench. He's open for business. Come drop an offer. Have your people call my people. We'll get a deal done. I've heard from around the league. I'm a great person to trade with. That's what everybody says.
There you go. So there you go, Chris. Maybe we can see a deal this week done. But going to the best game of the week, the 2 powerhouses. I think Jimmy. Dom actually had the second highest score. So Jimmy had the 3rd highest score by not that much. And then Jeff probably I'm going to probably go on a limb and say this is probably the most points we'll see in 1 week. I think Jeff will win the $50. I don't know who got the most points last week or last year. I think it was in the 170s.
I think it was James.
I think it was in the 170s. I think it was
James because he was like super inconsistent, but then he dropped like 2 of the highest scores we had in the league. Like he did it twice.
Yeah. And I think it was in the 170s. So I don't think this league has seen a 180 score. I think this might be the first 180 score we see this in our history of fantasy football. So shout out to Jeff. I mean, his team did well. He did very well. It looks everyone got a touchdown, I think. I don't think Aaron Jones did. But Justin Jefferson went off. Miles Sanders got 2 touchdowns. The Geno Smith start, man, that was a great start.
Geno Smith.
He started over Derek Carr. Great start. Josh Jacobs, 32. This week, I bet these are going to be the highest scores some of these guys get. Like Josh Jacobs isn't going to score another 30 ball. Miles Sanders isn't going to score another 30 ball, almost 30 ball. Geno Smith isn't going to score another 32 ball. Like this was it. This is the peak of Jeff's fantasy career right now. So I hope he's basking in it. But he needs to be consistent. The thing about this team is consistency. He scored 2 weeks really high, 2 weeks really low. He's got to find that happy medium. But I mean, congrats, Jeff. There's nothing much to say. You killed it this week.
That is precisely why I'm not scared of this team. This is probably the luckiest lineup I've ever seen. Like if you would have put this lineup in like a FanDuel or put a bet on these dudes scoring this many points, it would have been like plus 50,000. I mean, literally all the cards fell in Jeff's favor in these games. It was insane to watch. Like Miles Sanders, I think, scored 2 tutties. Josh Jacobs got 2 tutties. Brandon Cooks got like a long tutty. Jefferson, I think, got 2 tutties. I mean, everybody was just scoring left and right. It was absolutely insane. But let it be known, we still ain't scared of this team, Jeff, because we do not forget that you dropped like 80 points or maybe 70 points last week. Like this, you don't go from 70 to 180 and then continue to drop like 140s. Like that's just not how this is going to play out. I'm not scared of this team. But I do see Jeff, I think, next week. So I'm going to put those words to the test. But looking to Jimmy's team here, this is just a gut-wrenching loss. I mean, Jimmy's team had an absolutely fantastic week, a 125, and he still can't pull out the dub because of this 180 that slaps him in the face on the other side. I mean, this is just one of as tough as the losses get right here for Jimmy. So I do feel for him because he had a great week. I mean, DK Metcalf, great week. Tom Brady finally had a great week. Jamal Williams went crazy. Cup, nuts. Drake London didn't even do that much, and his defense sucked, but he still put up a great score with 125. And this is tough to see. But hey, man, congrats to Jeff because I agree with you. I would put just about everything that this is going to be the highest score we see all season.
Yeah, so if everyone knows, that's $50 on Jeff's pocket. If it is, there's still a long season left. We only do it for the regular season. That stuff does not work in the playoffs, or it does not get added to the playoffs. So yeah, Jimmy, tough loss, 1-3. But like I said last week on this team, I think this team is going to be okay. I think it's one of the most underrated teams. I know you said you disagreed, but you kind of see with Tom Brady and Fournette actually does something. The team is just so much better. So
yeah, it's consistency for me though with those guys because and this is the first game that they've done anything relevant. I feel like, and I mean Jimmy did put up a great score with that. So we'll see if that continues and is sustainable. But I don't know, man. I still don't love that.
Yeah, so we'll see. So this is the standings, kind of what we were talking about, and then I know we mentioned the points for, so we can kind of click on that. Jeff, of course, is leading after 180. You should be leading. Be worrisome.
I'm pretty sure he was like 6th or 7th last week. He just jumped up to first.
Exactly. Jumped up. But yeah, where's Johnny? I think Johnny. So yeah, Johnny 424. Not great, but I mean not the worst. 2-2. I mean you're higher. Nick is higher. So Nick's probably got the best team, I would say, just on points basis and record-wise. I wouldn't want to be seeing Nick's team right now. They're pretty hot. So, yeah, we'll see points against. This is going to be Jimmy. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's going to –
almost by 100 points now.
Yeah, Jimmy's going to probably be in the lead with this for a while. But, yeah, James – so James has gotten pretty unlucky with matchups, 451, second highest. I'm sitting with 440. But then Johnny, yeah, so again, Johnny has the least amounts of points against, which definitely helps.
Schedule.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And so is Lubasi. You can see Lubasi down here. He's actually got more points against than points for. So that team just hasn't done great this year, but he's gotten 2 wins, so you can't count him out because fantasy, anything can happen. So that's kind of where we're at here. And we do want to talk about a couple trades. We had 3 trades. I think 2 trades last week we didn't get to. Got a Miss Wiggler over here. So let's go to – that's going to be –
we got 7 minutes remaining, so we should be able to get through all of them.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll get to the ones I think we stopped at – yeah, so this is the one I think we stopped at. This is the big trade. I know we had like 2 minutes or like a minute left for Dom's trade, and this just had a lot of moving pieces. So Dom got Kittle, Judy, and James Conner, and then James got Tyler Lockett, Alexander Madison, and Matthew Stafford. And I don't know. This was during the Dalvin Cook injury. I don't know if James maybe thought that Dalvin Cook was going to be out a couple weeks, but the fact that Dalvin played this week, this trade kind of seems a little bit more lopsided on Dom. And I think that's what maybe James was thinking, that Alexander Madison would at least have that backfield for at least a couple weeks due to Dalvin's shoulder.
Yeah, I think this especially looking at this from a lens of today, October 5th.
Right.
Dom looks like he wiped the floor on this trade. Matt Stafford has not – we're just talking about that. Matt Stafford has not been doing all that great this year. Alexander Madison is obviously a backup. And Tyler Lockett hasn't – I mean, he's been doing okay for the situation, but nothing super stellar. And I think getting George Kittle – I mean, James Conner's a starting running back, and Jerry Jeudy's a wide receiver too, at least in that offense. So I think Dom really won this trade by quite a far margin, but like you said, I think this was during that Dalvin injury, and I know he was questionable for a few days, so I think that's probably where the Alexander Madison part came in, and maybe why James thought this was a little bit better looking trade at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, if Alexander Madison gets the starting role for a couple weeks, this definitely turns into more of an even trade. I know James Conner, Kittle, and Judy have not been doing that well this year, so that's probably why he got rid of them. They're not playing as what they should be playing. James Conner just hasn't looked that great this year. Just the Cardinals' offense really hasn't. So, yeah, I think this was definitely when Dalvin was hurt, so it kind of doesn't make really too much sense now, but last week about this time, you could kind of see how it does make a little more sense. So
yeah, and I mean, James is kind of in desperation mode, so he just needs to make moves any way he can. So I don't blame him for it, and hopefully it'll pay off in some sort of way.
Yeah, so then we'll go to your trade with Chewy. Got Tyler Algier, I don't know how to pronounce that, and then Terry McLaurin. Algier, and then Terry McLaurin for Khalil Herbert and DJ Moore. You can go to your thought process on this.
Yeah, I mean, I have Chris Godwin, who came back last week and did pretty well. He did go out for a little bit in that game, but he ended up coming back. And so I'm pretty deep at receivers. I'm pretty desperate at running back, especially with Swift gone. I already had problems with my RB2, and then Swift went down. So I knew I needed somebody. I knew Montgomery was going to be out for at least 1 week. And Khalil Herbert ran all over the last team we played, but kind of put up a little bit of a stinker versus the Giants. But it was enough to get me a win. So and DJ Moore, I do think DJ Moore is going to get better than he has been this season. And Terry McLaurin, I got rid of him specifically because seems like he's not getting as many targets this year as he was last year. And so I was kind of shopping him around. Me and Chewy have been talking about trade. I've been talking to Chewy about trading Terry for like the last 6 weeks. But Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel have been getting a lot of looks in that offense from Wentz. So I'm not mad to lose Scary Terry. I think I can do all right with my flex spot without him. Like I said, I'm pretty deep at receiver, so that's kind of my thought process. Who do you think won that trade?
Yeah, I think it's pretty even trade. I mean, you pretty much, once David Montgomery comes back, it's going to be a DJ Moore for Terry trade. But Khalil Herbert's going to probably be better than – I don't know, because like we said, Cordero's on the IR. So Tyler Algier, whatever his name is probably looking a little bit better now for at least the next 4 weeks, but then you don't know how long David Montgomery's going to come out. So I don't know. I'd say this is an even trade, though, kind of just swapping assets.
Yeah, I think it's fairly even for sure.
Yeah. How long do we got?
We got 2 minutes, plenty of time. We can get through this last one.
All right, so this one happened a couple days ago. Me and Chewy's trade. Justin Herbert. I got Justin Herbert, Curtis Samuel, and Michael Carter, and then he got Juju, J.K. Dobbins, and Jared Goff. This basically trade was the quarterback situation. I don't think Goff is going to be this consistent this year. He's gotten 4 games, 2 of them against really bad defenses. He got over 25, but then when he actually plays a pretty good defense, I think he got both games were under 15. So I don't think he's that consistent enough for me to lock him in a lineup. And then Aaron Rodgers just hasn't looked great. That Packers offense hasn't looked that great. So he's on my bench right now. He's my backup. But I really just wanted a quarterback, Justin Herbert. And then once Javonte Williams and Cordell Patterson went down for Chewy's team, I knew he needed a running back, so I shopped J.K. Dobbins. I gave him the pickings of whichever running back he wanted, not named Mixon, and he chose J.K. And then Michael Carter I have Breece Hall, and then Curtis Samuel. Samuel, I just kind of, I don't know, just kind of threw him in there. And then he wanted Juju. So I like Curtis Samuel more than Juju. Juju just hasn't been that guy this year that I thought he was going to be. So I kind of salvaged him a little bit in my eyes. But I think this helps both of us. I think this is a good trade for both of us. Gives me a consistent quarterback, and then gives him a running back that has looked good the past 2 weeks, and he's looking really explosive. So what do you think about this trade?
Yep, I think it's a pretty even trade. I think both of your teams are going to end up benefiting from it, but we have like 20 seconds. So that is your week 4 recap. I think all the trades that we talked about have been at least fairly even. Maybe not that Dom James one, but it's not that far off. But anyway, that's a week 4 recap. We'll catch you guys again next week for the week 5 recap. Good luck this week, except to who do I play this week?